I built a no-code RAG agent inside of n8n, which allows me to search through hundreds of documents all within seconds. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Michele, and over the past 12 months, I've helped over 40 businesses implement AI and automations, and I've taught over 15,000 people in the process, all while starting with no technical knowledge. So today you're going to see the whole process step by step, what goes right and what goes wrong, and how you can actually set it up in your own n8n. So let's dive in. All right, so this agent is split up into two different steps. The first step is new document into Supabase. So if I go here to the SOPs, which ChatGPT made a quick one, I can see that I have a SOP for a creative agency. All I have to do right here is go to File. I can download it as a PDF. And this is a thing that I have to upload into Google Drive. As soon as I upload it into Google Drive, it will download here. And I just have to press execute workflow. Of course, this workflow will automatically be executed on a polling trigger, so every day or every hour, whatever it is. And now this file is stored in our Supabase, which is the vector database that we have here. And now all I have to do is go to our next agent, which is the agent that you'll be using, and go to open chat and ask it any questions we have. So if I go to SOPs, I can see that one of the things that it mentions is that ClickUp or Asana or Notion are used as a project management tool. So if I go here and say, what tools do we use for our project management? And what it's doing now, it's querying the agent. So it's querying the actual database that we store the information in, and it's going to give us an answer. In this case, it's ClickUp, right? And if I go here, the answer was ClickUp, right? So that's exactly how the agent works. And if you have hundreds of documents, it will scan through hundreds of documents and it will give you a concise answer based on what it found. All right, so let's go to Miro and let me show you exactly how it works and what the whole thing's about. So the source data is essentially what is that thing that we give the agent? What is that thing that we give the database for it to pull information from when we ask any questions? In this case, it can be in the form of a video, audio, image, or text. We use PDF, but you can use any of these. Now, for the source data, for the file, whatever you're using, to be added to the database, again, for the agent to pull information from, it needs to be transformed into an embedding. Now, what the embedding means is that it takes the file and turns it into these numbers, into vectors, right? Which gives me a bad memory of high school. But the embeddings right here are 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. It's just a bunch of numbers that represent the file that we gave it. And then these vectors, so this is a vector for a specific file, will be stored into a vector database, which is a database which has different vectors, so different files. And that's the thing that the agent is going to query, is going to ask when it needs to find anything that we asked it. And fundamentally, that's how a file gets turned into a vector, which gets stored into a vector database. It might sound complex, but it's actually very, very easy because a file is a vector and database is just full of vectors, full of files. Now, how does it work when you actually ask it a question? How does it pull information from the vector database to give us an answer? Well, the question that you ask it is in text. You say, hey, what is that XYZ? Now, those different letters that you ask, those sentences that you give, or that question, gets turned into an embedding, which gets matched to the embeddings here. And that's how it gives you an answer, because it matches the different numbers. All right, so let's go to n8n. Let me go here and we can actually build one from scratch. So the first one, as I mentioned, is pulling data from a Google Drive, and that will be the thing that will be stored into the Supabase. So ideally your team will just drop files in Google Drive and the automation just runs every so often, every 1 hour, every day, or whatever it is. So first step is actually making the drive. So we made a drive, we called it RAG example, and that's the thing that you want to do on a Google Drive because that's the place that we just drop the documents for it to go to the Supabase. And then we go here. And on the first step here is watching every new file that is created because that's the thing that starts the automation, right? We don't want to automatically, or we don't want to manually run the automation every single time. We want the automation to be smart enough to know when a file is created in that drive so that it pulls it to the database. So the first step here is Google Drive, and the action is on changes involving a specific folder. So what this is you're watching a specific change within a folder, and the change itself is a new file being created. So all you have to do to connect Google Drive to your n8n is go here, and you need a client ID and client secret. I would recommend watching or asking the assistant exactly step by step what you can do. It's more of a longer process, but it's very, very easy. Let me know down below if you want a full tutorial where I can show you exactly how you can do it. But once you connected your Google Drive, let me go here, you have this. Then it's asking you poll times. This means how long or how often do you want to run the automation. So in this case, we can do every minute, which is fine. And trigger on changes involved in the folder. Okay, that's fine because we want to watch changes inside the folder. The folder itself will be RAG example. So RAG example. So right here. And then what are we watching for? In this case, we're watching for a file being created, right? So let me actually test this. Let me fetch test event. In this case, think the file was the one I uploaded before, but let me do another one. So let me delete this with the trash and let me put it back here. So ideally we want it here. Every minute it runs and it checks that any new document has been added. So I can go here, fetch test event, and this right here has been added, and this will be the file. So let's see if that's the file that we have. Agency SOPs to PDF, which is this one, right? And that's the one that we're going to be adding to the actual database. All right, so now we have an automation set up where it triggers whenever a file is created inside a Google Drive. But how do we actually send a document from Google Drive to the vector database, right? Well, in this case, to send any documents there, we have to download the file first because the vector database only gets or only intakes binary, which I will explain in just a second. But the way that we have to send a document in the vector database is in a very, very specific format, which is in the binary format. So all we have to do here is actually download the file before we send it to the vector database. And to download the file, you have to press plus, go to Drive, and then you can download a file right here. Connected, which is the same, file, download, and then the file, we don't want to select the file because we want it to be dynamic. We want it to change every single time. And we can do ID, and the ID of the file will be the one here. So let me go down to the ID, there we go. And this is the ID of the file that changes every single time because it's a new file that we're doing. And that's the thing that's going to be added to the vector database. And if I go here, let me just pin this, which means that I'll already have this input. I don't have to rerun this. I can just use this as test data. I can execute the step and I can see that we have binary right here. This is exactly the type of input or the type of thing that goes into the vector database, which you don't get in the previous one. So we have to download it first. All right, now once we downloaded it, we can go to Supabase because that's the software that we're using to actually add a document to. Supabase Vector Store, add documents to Vector Store because we're adding a document, and you'll come on this page. Now, once you come on this page, in order for us to connect to your Supabase Vector Store, I'm gonna go through everything step by step. So we go here, create a new credential, and then the service role secret, which will be the thing in Supabase. So let me go here. Let me actually log out and make a new account so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. So sign up now, actually. Let me do my email. And then my password. God. Which is the same password I use for every single email, which is not good. Sign up. Check your email notification. So this is the email that I got. Confirm your email address. And this will be the account that is just made for Supabase. All we have to do is organization, personal, there you go, create organization. And that's, I just want to walk you through step by step because that's exactly what you have to do when you do this. And you create a new project. Let me just cancel, that's fine. So that's it. So now, actually we can create a new project because we actually need this. Let me do n8n YouTube RAG agent. The password is not strong enough. Create a new project. And now we have the project that is being added to Supabase. All right, cool. So once you get to this page, there's a few things we have to do. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to connect our Supabase to n8n. And then the second thing we have to do is actually make the database that we add the document to. So in order for us to connect n8n, we have to have a service role secret. In order to have the service role secret, we have to go, I believe, to project settings, API keys. There we go, service role secret. So we can reveal. Let me just copy this. And this is a thing that you want to paste into n8n. So on here. And you can save it. Couldn't connect with these settings. Let's see why. Okay, and so the reason why it says couldn't connect settings is because I'm missing my host, which I didn't even see. Now, so to connect this host, you have to go to Supabase. You have to go to, I believe, project overview. Yeah. And then down here, there should be a project URL, which is this one right here. So you just copy, go back to n8n, paste it, and now you can save it. And now the connection is tested successfully. Let me do n8n YouTube 21st August. Name your connections right, because don't be like me. Save it. Okay, so now that we connected our n8n to Supabase, we have to put operations mode, which is insert document, because that's the thing that we're doing. We're inserting a document into a database. But the problem is there's no database to add the documents to. So the next step is this. All we have to do to connect or to add a database is to go to docs, scroll down to, where is it? This one here. So a quick start for setting up your vector store. Press this, and you'll come on this page. All you have to do here, you just have to copy this, right? And don't get overwhelmed. Just follow me step by step. you go to Supabase, and then you have to go to this right here, SQL editor. Just paste this here. Paste it. There you go, like this. Zoom out. And now you will have this code here. And all you have to do is run it. Once you run it on the bottom right, it should say success, no rows returned. Okay, so once that's done, once you actually made this, on the table editor, you can see that we just made a table called documents. And this right here is the database that we're gonna be adding the document to. So if I go back to n8n, I can now choose refresh. Let's refresh actually, because sometimes it trips out and it takes a while to actually update. I can go here and I have documents now from the list. And so that's the document, that's the place where we actually get to store the document in. If I go to options, I can match the options, match documents, and leave this as is. And the embedding match size is 200, which is fine. And now, in order for us to actually make it work, we have to connect two different things. The first one is the embedding, which is what is that AI, or I mentioned before that we have to take the file and turn it into different numbers. So we have to use AI for this, which in this case, we could use OpenAI from right here. And we can leave this as text embedding 3 small. Again, to connect your OpenAI to n8n, all you have to do is get the API key, which you can find on platform.openai.com. Let me go here, let me actually show you. Platform.openai.com, you log in, dashboard. On the left-hand side, you have API keys. Create a secret key, name it whatever you want. So let's do n8n test. YouTube, secret key, copy this. And now we can go to n8n, we can paste this, name this test August 19th. Oh God, test August 19th. We can save this and now the connection is done. Okay, that's how you connect your OpenAI to n8n. And now for the model itself, you want to connect this to text embedding 3 small. It doesn't really matter, just do this one. This is the fastest and probably the most efficient for now. And this is the thing again, that's gonna take the file, turn it into numbers to then add it to the database. And now for us to actually add a document, we have to do the default data loader. So it loads data from previous steps into the workflow. So let me go here, I can press this. And in this case, we don't wanna do JSON, but I mentioned before that we wanna do it as a binary, which means that it's asking us, what is that type of file? What is the type of input that we give you? In this case, it's binary. So load all data input, yes, that's fine. Automatic detect amount, yes, that's fine. And simple is fine, that's all good. Is there anything else you want? No, that's it. Okay, so in this case, data format automatically detected by time. Text splitting is simple, and that's all we have to do. Now, this right here just means it splits every 8,000 characters within a 200 character overlap. So before, if you saw, the PDF was actually stored into 10 different rows, 11 different rows. It's because it actually split it up. So this right here is used, then it goes here to the embeddings, turns the file into the embedding, and then in order for us to actually store the document, we have to use this one right here. So let's test this. Let's test this right here. Let me go to unpin this. Let me go to Google Drive. Let me just re-put another one. So piece, replace. So now it's replacing the file. I can go back to n8n. And now if I execute the workflow, it should work. Let me go here, download the file. It goes here. Okay, everything was successful. If I go to n8n YouTube agent, I can see that the data was stored here. And the data has the ID, which is just the rows, right? Every new entry is 1. And then content, which is this, just a bunch of text. Metadata, which is JSON, which is a bunch of stuff as well. Embedding, which is again, the thing that I mentioned, which is the different numbers. These are the vectors, which might look a bit intimidating at the start, but these are the series of numbers that we have that are stored in the vector database, which is the thing that's gonna allow us to actually ask it questions. All right, so once this is done, we have to go here and we can get on to the second agent, because the second agent is what the real sauce is about, because we can actually ask it any questions about the document. So we can keep this on the same workflow. So let me save this. Right here we have upload a document, download it, and then add it to the database. Now we can start by actually querying the Supabase. So for us to actually query the Supabase, if you really think about it, we have to text the agent. In order for us to make a text agent, we just have to add an AI agent, which will go here. And then we just have to connect it to a chat trigger, which means that we have a chat connected to the agent so we can talk to the agent. All right, so there's a few things. The chat agent, so this right here, I can just talk to it, right? And it will send the information and it will send it here, it will do whatever. And then we have the AI agent. In the AI agent, the source for prompt, meaning what is the input, in this case, is just connected to the chat trigger node because This is the chat trigger node. We can leave this as is. The prompt is fine. Requires specific upper format. No, we don't. And now it's asking us to do a system message. So that's the thing that you want to add to the AI agent. Let me go here, expressions, so I can do it full screen. And now I can start adding the prompt. Now for the prompt itself, we usually use a structure, which is overview, tools, and then rules, right? For overview, we can say, you are a helpful, intelligent, information extracting, I don't know if that makes sense, but extracting assistant that helps me to answer, or that answers any queries that come to you. Okay, that's fine. For the tools itself, we have to add, and then for the rules we can add as well later. So overview, you're a helpful, intelligent information extracting assistant, answers any queries that come to you. And then tools, we can add the tool. In this case, we only have one, which is getting the Supabase for the vector database. And then we have the rules. If I go here, we can now connect this to a chat model, which in this case, we can do OpenAI. You can't see it right now because my face is there, but OpenAI chat model is here. You can press this. And now, again, we already connected OpenAI to n8n, so we just have the connection here. In the model, leave this as 4.1 mini. We don't have to connect memory. Well, actually, no, we have to, or we can, right? We can, for simple memory, just so that it actually remembers the previous questions that we asked it. We can leave this as this is fine. And now this is asking how many past interactions does the model receive as context? 5 is fine. You can add more if you want, in case you're having longer conversations where it needs to remember what you said before. And now for the real sauce of the AI agent, it's the Supabase. So if I go here, Supabase vector store, you can see that now the tool is this one here. So let's rename this to vector store, rename. If I go in here, I can then have different settings. The first setting is obviously the connection, which we already made before. Then the operation, which is what is that thing that we're doing? In this case, is retrieving documents as tool for AI agent, which is fine. Again, previously we had insert documents. The description is, you can just leave this as work with data from the Supabase vector database, rhymes. And now the table is a database, right? That is a thing that we just made, this one here. So if I go here and I go to, it only gives me one option because we only have one table, documents. The limit is fine, include metadata. Actually, this says number of top results to fetch the, I don't think we need a limit. I think we can just not have one because it can pull any number of results. Include metadata. What is this? Whether or not to include document metadata. That's fine. All right, so now we can connect this to an embedding because just like we did this above, we need to embed, which means that we need to turn our question into numbers so that it can ask it any questions on a vector database. So we can go here, embedding. And by the way, you can connect this to the same one, right? But to make it less complicated, we just have our own. So let's go here, embeddings, OpenAI. Leave this as before, which is fine. And now this is embedded. So in theory now, when we ask any questions, it will go to the AI agent. It will think through its brain, which is the LLM. It will remember any conversation that we had, but most importantly, it will send the information here. First, it will embed it. So it will turn our questions into numbers. It will then match it up against any numbers that we have, any vectors that we have in the vector database. It will then send us back an answer in natural language, right? Like before, like I showed you. Now, one thing I need to finish is the prompt. So let me go here and let me go up here. And now for the tools, we have vector store. Very important that you name the tool the same as the tool that you actually have. What I mean by this is like vector store needs to be the same name as this. If I rename this to something else, like vector store, make sure to update that into the prompt, especially when you have more tools. So vector store, this will always be used when answering any questions that the user might have. Now rules, the only rule I have is, actually I have two rules. The first one is you must always pull information from this, from the vector store. That's it. And then your answers need to be concise and to the point. Okay, so why do I say this will always be used because previously when I actually made this agent, I was asking it a question. It was using like the natural LLM to actually answer it. Like what is a project management tool that we're using? It will use the LLM to search in the internet or search through like its own storage. But in this case, we only wanted to pull information from the vector store. Okay, and that's what we're saying this. And then we always want the answer to be concise because I don't want it to give me a full paragraph or a long paragraph that we can't read. All right, so I think that's it. Now we can test this, and if it goes wrong, we can obviously change it. So let me go here. Let me go here. Let me get something specific. What are the things that are included in the content production? That's it. And it should say video, social media, copywriting. So let me go, what is included in our content production? So what it's doing now, it's going to embed our answer. It's then going to query with the vector database, give us back an answer. And now it says that we have video production, social media, and copywriting. And if I go here, again, I can see video, social media, and copywriting. So let me ask it another question. So let's say I want to ask it, what is inside the social media? So say, what is inside social media? What I should say now is that we have content calendar managed in Notion, post schedule 1 a week. Content calendar is managed in Notion, post schedule once a week. Right, so this is insane, especially if you have hundreds and hundreds of documents inside the vector database, which allow you to pull information from these documents in a matter of seconds. Because typically when I worked with agencies, especially creative agencies or any type of agencies, we worked with a lot of them, they store their SOPs into a Google document, into multiple Google documents with tabs. And in order for them to actually ask any questions about the actual document, they have to go inside the document itself to get any answer. But in this case, we just have a chat, AI agent queries itself, and then gives us back an answer in a very, very simple way in just seconds. So that right there is a full build for the RAG agent inside of n8n that allows us to search through hundreds of documents that we have. In this case, I only used one, but imagine you can add multiple hundreds of documents inside a Google Drive, which will pull it into the vector database, and then we can just ask it any questions that we want. And if you want to get deeper into n8n AI agents, then check out this video on the screen if you want to learn exactly how I built an AI personal assistant that manages my contacts, my calendar, and my emails, and even writes my blog posts all automatically, which honestly still blows my mind. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.